Okay, thanks everyone for joining. It is 1 o'clock, so welcome to the ISU Extension and Outreach Urban Ag webinar, Business Planning for Urban Farms. I am Graham Sandersfeld, Extension Urban Ag Outreach Specialist working under Dr. Kathleen Dellett on the new Urban Ag Catalyst project. This is our fifth webinar, and we encourage everyone to check out the project and previous webinars at our website, which I am sharing in the chat. Scroll to the bottom to sign up to our newsletter, where you will find the latest updates about upcoming webinars. Today, we are joined by Alex Van Alstine. Alex is a food business extension specialist with ISU Farm, Food, and Enterprise Development. During the webinar, he will provide an overview of business planning steps he recommends and outline future ISU or available ISU resources. His presentation will be followed by a Q&A session. Alex is an experienced entrepreneur and educator with a strong background in the food and transportation industries. He has undergraduate degrees in marketing, management, and community leadership and planning from Iowa State University, an MBA from Drake University, and ongoing graduate studies in seed technology and business. Alex combines business expertise with real-world experience, having owned a food manufacturing facility, a restaurant and storefront, and food truck. Alex understands the challenges of launching and growing a food business. Now in the fourth year at Iowa State and teaching at the DMAC Transportation Institute, Alex is a passionate for helping businesses navigate operations, strategy, and long-term success. And without further ado, Alex, can you please share your screen with us?
Yes. Can everyone see that all right? Is that on the front page there of the slideshow?
Yes.
Okay. As Graham mentioned, my name is Alex. I'll be talking about business plans and the next steps. We're really going to cover what the importance is of a business plan, what all parts of a business plan are, and how do we intertwine that with urban ag. To start, why does urban ag matter? I'm sure in a lot of your conversations and other webinars and through your research, you found a lot of reasons why urban ag is a huge thing in Iowa. We're really trying to grow that to provide food to multiple areas that don't have that reach or that area to get that food, which comes from food security. And we also need to bolster climate resilience, different things in the community that are affecting issues to get that food there. A big question that I get from the community is, I have all this produce or I have all these vegetables. What am I going to do with them? And the answer is try to do something with value added products. We know that we can't sell all of our fruits and vegetables directly to a consumer. What are ways that we can convert that and make that? And there's plenty of ideas out there. And all those ideas start with a business plan. Setting up a business plan and defining what your mission is and what your vision of where you want this to go really helps you succeed in those value added products and the business that you're starting. It provides a roadmap. It helps attract partnerships, investors. It helps you go to a bank and get a bank loan. And it also helps with the executive team, part of your company. And the executive team can be other people just trying to help you, partners with maybe local bee operators on your land, landowners, if you're renting property, even spouses or other family members that you're planning to pass this business along to. Um, the real goals of this presentation are to help understand what the components are of a business plan, learn practical steps for being able to write one. They can be very daunting at first. Some range from 25 to 30 pages. Some might even go up to 60 pages with a bunch of things in the appendices. I've even seen some that are very short, that are just 1 to 2 pages, that just give that initial roadmap of, hey, this is where I want to start. This is where I want to get to. And that's where our department comes into play. If you ever have any questions about that, where do I go? What are my next steps in developing that? You're always free to reach out to Graham or myself. Um, so let's get started. The main components of a business plan start with your executive summary. And it's a little bit ironic because we start with an executive summary, but that should be the very last thing that's written. And we'll continue that a little bit later on. Then we move on to things like the market research. financial projections, which can be very daunting. There's a lot of things to look at, analyze, and understanding your costs is really basis of that. Then we get into organizational management. We can see our market and sales strategy, what we're going to price at, how do we determine break even points. And then we also want to include anything else in the appendix. That could be anywhere from a site plan, if you have building schematics, if you have a layout of how you want your production, if you're washing and drying fruits, are you doing it just outside of your building on a concrete slab? Or are you doing it inside? Does it match the flow to your cooler? Um, are you going canning and jarring? How are we getting that aligned? What resources do we have to ensure food safety with that too? So with the executive summary, like I mentioned, it's written at the very beginning, but we save it for last to write. It's a very concise overview of what your entire business plan is. We don't go too much in the nitty-gritty. It's really your name, your location, what your mission statement is, a summary of what's going on, maybe some key objectives of your business itself. I always try to avoid things like I or we and write it as though you're from the perspective of the business itself. So I used to own a company. It was called Salt and Pretzel Co. I would write something like Salt and Pretzel Co. is looking to bring soft pretzels to the market and aims to sell at the stadium or something at $2 a piece, $3 a piece. What value does that bring? Customers and consumers then can eat something delicious and warm. It's quick and easy to grab. Just something there. It's usually just a couple paragraphs. We do try to keep it under 2 pages. I recommend trying to keep it about a page though, just because you want people to be able to glance and read it and go, wow, that's really eye-catching. I want to continue to read the rest of your business plan. The company description come follows next, and it seems like we're doing duplicating what we just wrote about the executive summary. But this is more on what is the legal structure of this business. Are you a sole proprietor? Are you an LLC? Are you a partnership? And those all have varying terms, and they might be a little confusing. But the basis of them is what form of liability or risk are you willing to assume? If someone just goes out in the world and they sell a product, especially in the food industry, and someone gets sick, that liability falls on you if you don't have any of this business legal name or structure involved. As we go from sole proprietorship to LLC, limited liability corporation, that liability doesn't fall on you anymore. It starts to shift to more of a business where we have insurance. Funds are kept separated. Um, what does the industry look like that you're getting into with your business? Are there multiple places doing the same canning, jarring, doing these value add products, infusing things into different products like honeys or oils or butters? And then what are your long-term and short-term goals? A big thing I see with writing a business plan is they always focus on the long-term goals. I want to succeed. I want to make $5,000 in 1 year. Those are very long-term goals, and we want to focus on what's the next month look like? What's my weekly action plans? So getting a head start on those and really talking to someone about what are realistic, because it does take about a month to set up your business as a legal structure. Um, so just really highlighting what you need and be very clear about your missions and your values. Bullet them out. Don't try to cluster so many in one area. Have them separated and easy to read and easy to follow. Next is market research, and this is a big topic for myself. I do a lot of feasibility studies for new companies and existing companies to see what that market looks like. And market can come from two areas. The first one is what are your customers and consumers? Are they looking to purchase this? Not everyone's going to want to buy something. Something that I see that's common is someone saying, well, there's 1,000 people in my town, so my market's 1,000 people. We need to really step back and say, okay, probably only about 30% of those people are probably going to buy that product. And out of that 30%, someone might not be willing to switch from one product to another product, or someone might not be interested in something. So we really got to focus, and it's difficult to kind of wrap our minds around that. So sometimes we do what surveys. We go out in the public and we just start saying, hey, would you be interested in this? What does this look like for you? What appeals to you? And being specific about that. And then we look at over time, what does that growth look like? Are more people willing to purchase this product? And we really want to specify which customers and demographics we're looking for. Again, we can't always go back to that 1,000 people in my area want to buy things. Those 1,000 people, 50% of them could be under the age of 18 or even under the age of 10 that don't have a disposable income. For other products, though, like candy or something that's sweet, no, that might be our target population there. We want that person to go down through a farmer's market and say, hey, that 5-year-old's asking for something sweet or just a snack to get through the day. So understanding who that target customer is very important. And then what are the needs and opportunities of the market? We go out in the public and we see that there might not be a bagel shop in my town, or there may not be fresh produce available if someone prefers strawberries over blackberries. In the area, we just walk through farmers markets and we see what's there, what we might like, and then we ask our friends and family and other people what the opportunities, and we try to capture that. That leads so once we have those competitors, we look at the other side of it, the second part of what the market is. And the second part is other people in the same category and industry as yourself. If we go down to a farmer's market, we see a lot of people that sell the same products. And we can start by doing what's called a competitive analysis. And it starts with a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We look internally and we see ourselves what strengths set us apart from someone else selling the same products. What opportunities are there for us to grow and expand? What threats are out there? And it's not just people coming in or there's tons of people in the market. Threats can be that there's a risk of something issue with the climate, transportation to your area. Weaknesses kind of evolve into that a little bit. But we want to keep them separate. So weaknesses may be that we don't have a refrigerated truck to transport our goods. One of the next steps we can take is a Porter's Five Forces, which really looks at who's taking more of the control over our industry. Is it suppliers? Is it a new entrants coming in the market? Is it buyers? Is it rivalries? Are there substitutes? When we look at substitutes, anything can really be a substitute to our product, especially if we're going back to that sweet idea. If someone's walking through the farmer's market and they see a sweet product versus a savory product, we might not say, oh, well, that's not sugary. They're not looking for a cookie, but that is competing directly with us. It's in the snack market entirely. And we can even expand that into more substitutes, saying that maybe they're switching from a snack, they only have enough money for that, or enough money for some fresh flowers to bring home to someone. So really understand that. And insights from competitors can come from multiple directions. Some of that can come from just talking with them or just observing. But try to use credible sources, do the surveys, even if that means just go out and visibly seeing things for yourself. The next part of it is organization and management. You really want to define key roles and responsibilities of your team. I often see in business plans, people write out, this person will be the CEO, or this one will be the marketing person. And that's all they write. You really want a background of what that leadership role is and how they add value to that team. And be very specific, because when someone's looking at this business plan, they want to understand why you chose them, as well as what their specific responsibilities are for later. So if something falls through, such as your marketing plan, you know exactly who to go to help make that more robust and get someone more involved to market more. On the right here, we see a little bit of what an organizational chart may look like. And then right below that, we would show the highlights and what groups are in there. And we might even go farther and expand and say, what other supporting roles are there? And then what other goals they might have. A big challenge we overcome in business plans is operations planning and risk management. We see staffing issues as one of the largest areas that we see a lot of risk in. There's high turnover volumes almost everywhere. And this section can change a lot depending on where you're located. If you're located in the Des Moines metro, you may not have issues with staffing, but you may have more issues with zoning and other regulations. If you're in a warmer climate, you might see more pests versus a colder one. You want to have backup for water if you're in the rural versus urban areas. So understanding those and really getting a full list of those risks and what your operations might look like really helps make a strong business plan. Your product and service lines. We talked a little bit about your market and seeing what opportunities there are in there, but what problem does your product or service serve? Is it unique compared to your competitors? There's stories out there of everyone selling the same pickle variety. So what differentiates yourself between the two pickle jars that are sitting somewhere? Is it just a ribbon tied around? How much value does that actually add to the ending product? And that's not saying trying to deter anyone from making pickles. It's trying to say what things can we pair this with? What can we add to this product? Who can we partner with to get more sales of this product? There's so many solutions out there. And then we also want to look at the life cycle or roadmap of the product itself. Things become stagnant. If we have that same jar of pickles laying out or that same type of produce, and that's all we sell over and over again. Yeah, it's a little bit of a moneymaker, but someone might come in with something brand new that may take some of that market away. So always staying ahead of the game, looking at what product is, where it is in that life cycle, how old it is, really leads the way for expansion. Your marketing and sales strategy comes a little bit down to pricing, but the major part of it is going to be your costs. When you're going through everything, you want to have a very detailed outline of your costs and start somewhere by saying how long, how many hours, how many minutes does it take me to go out and pick a fruit or vegetable? How long does take me to set up any planters or do the jarring? And then move on to how much does it cost per jar? What are my overheads for going to a farmer's market or where I want to sell? How many miles is it between these two areas? And just understanding the max cost that's there, and then slowly incorporating more of those and setting a price ahead of what that's going to be. And the next pricing model, we'll talk about pricing models in the next slide. Determining your cost is a good starting point. Um, Afterwards, you want to research your market trends. You want to see what your competitors are charging. I often see going to farmers markets and other areas and even the grocery store, we're looking at two different products and they can range from $3 apart, maybe upwards of seven. So understanding where they're at and what customers are willing to pay for your product, that way you're not leaving money on the table and you're not deterring customers from going to someone else. And again, that goes back to your value proposition. What sets you apart? What unique features or benefits does your product offer compared to your competitors? So going into the pricing models is one of the most important parts. You can do a cost plus pricing model, which is taking that initial cost and just adding $2, $3, whatever covers your other fees or whatever you would like to make yourself. You can do a value-based pricing, which is based on if you have a high-end product or you perceive it as a high-end product, such as a large bouquet of flowers or something, you can value that significantly higher than those lower cost plus. Penetration pricing starts low or high, and you really penetrate the market with that price, and you can adjust as time goes. Price skimming is the opposite, where you're starting at a high price to maximize profit early, and then slowly getting down on price to where it needs to be. All this really helps out with your break-even analysis, which you want to calculate to determine how many units you need to sell to cover all of your fixed assets. Your marketing and sales strategy. With digital marketing coming into play, when we have social media like Facebook and TikTok, we get into SEO, search engine optimization. We really focus on how people are adapting to how they're receiving different marketing. Some may not realize that they are being marketed to, even though you're doing things very subtly. One of the examples is that is possible smells or sounds or anything like that. If you're walking past a farmer's market and you smell something delicious, or you hear the crackling of a fire going on, or you're even visually seeing a nice piece of produce, those are all different ways to market. So we really want to look at our table, how we're displaying our product, what our sales strategy is, what our tools that we're utilizing to keep track of those sales. on top of that, what promotions we're using. With promotions, I see a lot of people start doing promotions where you say buy one of this and get one of this free, or a 30% coupon for doing this over here. Those strategies work in the short term, but overall you're decreasing on that profit margin to keep you sustained for a long term. So you really want to be careful and look at those. And then next is your customer retention. How do I get these customers to keep coming back? A lot of it comes down to having a great product, but the other side of it, I'd say about 80% of it is friendliness. Just having that attitude and that wanting to get out there, reach them, having ways for customers engage, going back to that social media or back to those print ads or ways to get involved with the community, or even partnering with others are ways to bring people back and say, okay, I liked your product, but I loved working with you. Our group has several videos out there about financial projections and the financial side of things, so I'm just going to lightly touch on this. We talked a little bit about the break-even analysis. When we're doing revenue forecasts, once we get in our expense budgets, once we get our initial expenses and revenues done, over a month's time, we can then start to look at what the next month might look like. You can do that very simply by saying, this month I spent this much, so next month I'm probably going to spend this much. And then you can increase it by maybe 10% just in case there's inflation or anything like that. Try to use conservative estimates when you're doing this. Don't overstate that you might sell 100 next month, even though you only sold 10 this month. So it's just good to be very clear, research the back of it, understand, use those customer methods, those retention methods about what someone's purchasing, keep track of those things. So you're able to forecast later on. If you're looking for more of that funding, this is a great way to showcase it. This is probably one of the most important pieces of a business plan, which is why we present so many videos on it and we try to help out as much as we can. Your tips of success on building a business plan is just be very clear and very concise. Don't overstate your numbers. Don't understate your numbers too much. Have everything laid out. You want to see exactly what you want to go. We talked about input costs a little bit, being very specific about what those input costs are. If we're using 30 grams of flour in something, write that out. Break that out of how much it costs per pound to get in there. How much time did it take you to pick a piece of produce or to set up your farmer's market stand? Hiring someone, going back to the transportation costs. Those all are very important details, but and you can expand a little bit on the financial side. Try not to fluff too much on the other sides, the marketing side or the I feels, which is why we try to really avoid the I or we language in a business plan. Customize to your audience. If you're going to a bank, they're going to want to know more about the financial side of things. They're going to want to know less about, okay, this is my very specific target market. You can kind of generalize a little bit there. Or your value or what your propositions are to the end consumer. They really want to focus on the financials. Use visuals. They're a great way to break apart your business plan. It makes everything a lot more clear. Center them if you can. Use charts and graphs. There's a lot of tools out there. Excel has a lot of templates available for free. You just click the new button and it gives you existing workbooks, and you just click one, enter your numbers, and make it into a nice graph. And finally, ask for feedback. Contact someone like Graham or myself in FFED. Go to friends, family, or other resources. Ask them to look into your business plan. The Small Business Development Center at Iowa State University also helps with a lot of business plans. If you're looking for more urban agriculture or food related, definitely Graham or myself would be able to help you with those. If you have a mentor, ask them to look at it, see what things can highlight them. This is very important because you don't want to be the first time you present a business plan to someone to be that bank loan officer. They're not that intimidating, but you still want to avoid those costly mistakes. So, taking the next steps with a business plan, we have it set. I'm sure a lot of people have some questions on more specifics of a business plan. We only have an hour today. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to talk about all the details of one. But now that you have one, what do you need to do with that? How do we continue to grow with this? Your business plan is going to be a constantly evolving document. I've seen people range everywhere from revising this every month, every 2 months, to more longer ones, such as every year. I've also seen people not develop one whatsoever, and then they lose track of that 2-page document, and they go back to it 5 years later, and they go, "Oh man, I wish I would have stuck with this to understand my true roadmap of what it's going to be." So really staying on top of it and to keep developing it. Um, with that, we're building this foundation. And you want to ask yourself as you're building it, what does my training look like? You really want to adopt technology here. There's a lot of good resources out there. We want to try to avoid that tribal knowledge. I know that sounds great and adds the personal side of things, but does get lost. Not everyone has the same motivation for your business that you do, and that's very true. Uh, they might be willing to work on things with you, but they're not, at the end of the day, they're just getting a paycheck for the most part. And you're going to want to be a little hands-on at first, but eventually you want to slowly succeed and let this business run by itself. So looking at what my employees look like, how do I incorporate technology into my business? It could be as small as, instead of tracking or putting little labels on each of your produce and your areas or sticks in the ground, we incorporate QR technology or RFID tags where we can just quickly scan things and it pulls up on a phone and we can input the information. And I'm sure Graham has some more details on different ways they can incorporate that as well. And this really helps see where we bottleneck with things. Where are we losing production time? How can we increase or decrease expenses or revenues in these areas by reducing the labor that's going on into them? Because that's one of the biggest costs. We really want to identify what trends and fads are. So a fad is a very short term but high peaked um, customer demand. They may be looking something way back when it used to be silly bands. The iPhone has always gone through its different fad periods. When we're looking at trends, trends can be more of like health, or eating fresh produce over long periods of time. We see customer demand kind of gradually ramp up and then maintain that level for a long period of time. So, is your new value add product, is it going to um, reach a demand for a trend, or is it really more of a fad? And to understand that, you could be asking someone in the market themselves. You can look and identify something. It's a lot harder to look within and have your own opinion on something. So sometimes we look back at those surveys and we understand, okay, we're just going to. And that's where a product cycle ties back into this. We see where our products are in that product cycle if we want to focus more on these fads, or if we want to focus more on the trends as it's starting to taper off, and we need to bring something back in. Where I focus on, like I said, is feasibility analysis. Is this project going to be feasible? We have our business plan. Now we need to really look into it and say, do I have the resources needed to get to where we are? And are they reasonable? Do we actually have the labor out in a small town area? Do we have the capital to get there? Are people accepting grant applications? Do we have the equipment? Or are we lacking on some of the equipment? Um, some of that comes down to who our stakeholders and shareholders are as well. We might get shareholders that want to invest in it with you. But is it feasible for them? Do they have the time to do this? And then your stakeholders don't necessarily have to have a share in your company, but they're people that might be consuming your product. They're considered a stakeholder. So asking them, hey, would you be willing to purchase this more often? And understanding the feasibility of them being able to come to that farmer's market every week. Or is it coming more once a month? So it's really feasible. Your site plan and production. Where are you growing your crops? Are they too close together? Are they far apart? Are you doing container farm? Are you following some of these new trends where we're really trying to get confined areas and produce products? And the same goes with canning and jarring. Are we doing the right techniques? Do we have the space to get these products in a clean environment for all food safety? And then do we have an opportunity to store them? And you can partner with people to help with the storage or the cleaning. We have a big program going on right now with shared use kitchens. There's other areas like community gardens. And then also look into your seasonality and your harvest plans. A lot of things overlap. I've met with a lot of farmers that are doing multiple things on their farm. How does Are you timing everything properly so you're overlapping? The farmer's market season is a long one. Are you getting involved with the planting and the harvesting or spraying or anything like that? Is it interfering with you? Will we need to hire labor for all those things? They're all very important questions to continue to ask yourself and to look into. And then this helps you continue to evolve and say, where is my business headed to afterwards? Next is which document should I prepare as I'm continuing to evolve? We have some more of these financial videos on our website at FFED, Farm Food and Enterprise Development, which cover the income statement, balance sheet, and statement of cash flows. These documents really show where your business is in any given period of time. How much money are we coming in? How much money is going out? What assets do we have? Have they depreciated at all? What assets do I need to continue to get over time? And we can dive a little bit more into detail if you want to connect with us or look into our website. We can show you how to see how liquid you are. If you need to convert those assets into something that's monetary. A big thing I see is saleability of equipment. When we're purchasing those large pieces of equipment, we got to keep in mind that not everything can just be sold right away. We might purchase it and say a trailer, it might be easy to sell in our state. But if we're buying a whole barn or something and setting it up for food production, that's a little bit more difficult to lift that building up and move it. So what are some other resources? What happens when we can't utilize that building anymore? What are we going to turn that into? So understanding those risks really come down to these three financial statements, and then always having them constantly updated. You should be looking at these weekly, monthly to understand what all your costs are and what all your budgets are. The next is networking and collaborating. When you're going through these farmers markets or when you're working with the farmer next door or even friends or family if you work somewhere else, talk to people. Say, hey, how can we partner together? If you see someone selling something different than you, that's a good opportunity for you to say, hey, where are you selling your products? Would you mind taking some with you of mine and selling them over there? And I would take some of yours and sell them over here. I'm sure we've all encountered when we go down through the farmers markets or other small market areas, even the grocery store, things are kind of clustered together. They're really tight or they're very two-dimensional. They're flat on the table. Offering a variety of products through these partnerships, we can see elevated levels on the tables. We can make it more eye-catching, more colorful, more vibrant. Um, really leveraging those partnerships really helps move to the next stage. And then you could start decreasing things on transportation, on storage, and even production facilities, like I mentioned before with the shared use kitchen. And then also partner with other institutions like Iowa State University. Keep attending these webinar series, see what resources we have to offer. There's a lot out there, and our main goal is to disseminate knowledge. So working with us, and we can also help support you and find you some of those partnerships or look into those things. And then finally, engage with that community. That's more than just saying go out and get goodwill with people donating stuff to the local church or going to events or something. Giving back to the community and building that community is when you're at those booths and when you're at that location, stand in front, greet everyone that walks by, really be there and engage with them. Have everything front and center, talk to people, have little handouts for people to take home with them because that engagement at home, our minutes, our hours are they're looking at that information and they're reminded of your business and they're more likely to come right back and they're more likely to support your business continuing forward. Plan for growth and stability. We overestimate a lot of what our growth might be in the future. These are very long-term goals, and we may have sky's the limit with these things. We have 50 ideas. We don't really know where to go with them. We really follow the 80/20 rule, which is 80% of your profits are going to come from 20% of your products that you produce. So really scaling down. If you have 10 products on the table, see which ones are the real money makers and get that down to that finite number of, okay, I have these here, but still diversify a little bit. We can't just have one product on the table. We need to have more than one. What does it look like to expand our operations? Do we need to acquire more land? Do we need to improve our infrastructure? When we're purchasing new equipment, where we're purchasing that building to really process our goods, or can or jar or anything like that, are we planning ahead? Do we have that room or that space or the capabilities to do so? If we're thinking about entering a new market later, that dream. I talked with some people the other day that wanted their dream was to sell a bottle of wine. Um, to get there, what do we need? It's achievable. We can all do it. It's just setting those goals, understanding what that market is, and taking those initial baby steps to get to that point. We don't instantly start and get the great machines for all this, set up a whole vineyard for everything, get the food processing license in place, and then produce the bottle and then give it to someone because you might not generate enough sales to overcome all that equipment or the saleability of that equipment. Grow into it small. Sell those grapes to someone that might be producing wine already. Start to grow that. Learn more about the wine industry. Learn more about education from Graham, from the different programs that I always say in Extension Outreach. See what areas there are, write them down. They can be in your business plan as well. So laying out, this is what my future goals are, versus just what your mission is or your long-term goals. These are going to be separate. What might be your personal goals? And just really going from there. Just keep in mind, just like I said, don't diversify too much, but you definitely want more than one product on the table. Um, yeah, and just plan ahead. I left a significant amount of time for questions and discussions. One of the biggest ones that I wanted to make sure to ask was what challenges do you see in creating your business plan? I know they're daunting, and I think Graham is going to send out a document later that is our business plan template. It's significantly long. It's not light reading by any means. But if you follow along there, every question, if you just type the one sentence answer to it, you'll have a full business plan in no time. Um, so just go through that, work on the things. If you have questions, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. I guess for closing remarks, just a business plan sets a foundation for success. Invest the time into it. It's a very daunting task. We talked about that a couple times today. Focus on it, sit down, ask for help. SBDC, FFED, and Extension Outreach are really here to help write those with you. Answer any questions. If you need help starting the draft, use a template we provide. And then look at other resources to help do these. There's plenty of videos out there. If you have questions on either the financial or feasibility sides of things or want to do it yourself, we offer that as help too. And we can help you do it yourself. And there's plenty of videos or other resources that may say things a little bit different that might make it click better for you as well. So just look through all those. And as always, let us know if you have any questions. So, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Um, yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone if you have questions, there's still a good amount of time that we have with Alex for him to answer them. But I guess I have one that we can get started with. I would just wanted Alex, if you could elaborate, um, or maybe speak a little bit more to like some of the main differences between that you should consider when planning an urban ag business versus like a conventional larger scale ag business.
Gotcha. So that comes down to cottage food laws or home-based kitchen, and then small manufacturing facilities. Some of that comes down to where you're wanting to sell your product. Are you looking just to sell it within the state lines? You might be looking at the cottage food or the home-based kitchen license, or even using a shared use kitchen. If you're looking to go federally, we need to get some FDA licenses involved. There's a lot more inspection that needs to be in there. And don't let that scare you away. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty much just keep things clean, and have plenty of sinks for hand washing and equipment washing. Um, if we want to see where we want to go with our business, starting with that business plan and outlining those initial steps to see if there is a market for that product that you're growing. I know a lot of people probably do have a surplus and they're wondering what they can do with it, and they have the infrastructure to put it there. But taking those steps can be done very quickly. And I've seen a lot of businesses not succeed as early or as quickly as they should by investing too much at that beginning and not taking those initial stages. With cottage food laws, you're allowed to sell a lot of these things without processing them at all. Just go to your farmer's market. It's very low cost to you. You can get a lot of customer feedback from people. You can do a lot of surveying, get a lot of information that first year, and get that money to also help with your infrastructure. Your home-based kitchen license and your shared use kitchen utilization, those are the next step. If you're looking to do a process, cut the vegetables, turn them into something that's more than just a quick bread, like a banana bread or an apple loaf or zucchini loaf or zucchini cookies. Um, that kind of evolves more. It's still within the state. Um, it's you can take that step without having to do the cottage food, but it does require that state inspection. And then your small food processors are getting on the larger scale where you really got to look at what your labor is going to be for that. Do you have all of those contingencies in place, for if something goes wrong or when something may go wrong? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. Um, just giving people more time to submit their questions if they have any. But I had a follow-up about farmers markets. So they're obviously a great option for people to enter a new market, but some people may identify that it's not within their plan or their vision for their business. So what should people be doing if they're not necessarily considering joining the farmers market as a main way of selling their product? And what should they be doing like outside of the farmers market season to continue to develop?
Gotcha. That comes down a lot to partnerships. We talked about that a little bit today. If you're not looking to go to a farmer's market for various reasons, I've been a part of a few, and the biggest reason why I didn't want to join some was the initial cost, and then the time to go there for the weekends. That and there's just so many, and sometimes they slide off. Go talk to someone that might be selling something different than you, or sell something even a little similar but doesn't carry your same product, and say, hey, would you be willing to take this and sell this for me? I'll cut you a deal. That can be the upfront conversation, or you can say, hey, you purchase X quantity and do this. Other options are to go to local businesses that sell products. Everyone's always looking to sell something local. So going there and saying, maybe to a wedding venue, or something like that, they might say, I really want apples for the table or fresh produce in some way for the meals that we're going to cater in. Get into those restaurants, get into those small grocery stores, build those partnerships. A little tip I have is, I know when we all walk into that grocery store, it kind of is a little intimidating, and you always talk to that person behind the register, or you talk to someone just at the local shop, and they always go, "Oh, I'll talk to my manager," and they never do. They never contact you back. They never ask any questions. They barely wanted to take your card. Message them on Facebook. The person that does most of the purchasing and most of the marketing and knows all the product lines is the person running the Facebook pages. It's a great tool. They'll almost always directly connect you or send you the direct email of the person you're wanting to get in contact with. And then you can go from there. Hi, my name is Alex Van Alstyne. I'm selling XYZ as a product. I'm wondering if I can get on your shelves somehow. Um, we all dream of Hy-Vee and Fairway, and Walmart was the big one. I always push few people away from Walmart because they have what's called the Walmart effect, where they really try to get the lowest prices possible from you. So you may get in there and go, oh, I'm selling a lot, but you're actually doing it at a loss. And then you're kind of stuck in this area where you're at a loss. Now you got to sell more somewhere else for a higher price. But if we're looking at Hy-Vee and Fairway is our dream goals, starting with those small producers and then also going to co-ops or food hubs with your surplus. We can also look at other surplus opportunities with complementary goods. We talked a little bit about beekeepers. There's a lot of leeway on cottage food with beekeepers and their honey. If they're infusing certain ingredients into that honey, it could be beneficial to both of you. So finding ways to develop that product just a little bit more, or going to these wineries or breweries, or going to local bakeries around the area and saying, "Hey, I have this fresh produce. Can you incorporate this some way?" And that gets your full year-round sales. Because, like you said, people aren't always there at the farmers market. It's only during a set period of time. But at that bakery, it's a storefront. It may not look it, but I love my sweets. I'm going to be going year-round.
Thank you. Um, I had a comment because there was a Q&A just kind of reminding us that City of Des Moines recently had some um, changes to their municipal code regarding urban ag and what was allowed in terms of urban ag land use. And that just reminds me, as an announcement to everyone, if you're looking to get into urban ag, definitely check in with your local excuse me, your municipal land use laws and what is allowed on your property, because that might affect what you choose to grow. It might affect like what kind of structures you might be including, whether it's high tunnels or low tunnels on your property, and what sort of products might be grown with using those methods. Um, because if you're only trying to maximize profit, um, you want to do it on like this small amount of land you likely have in an urban area. And then another question for you, Alex, since we still have you, is what what do you say to people who or is it a common thing for people to necessarily devalue their own labor, especially as like the person who's running a startup? How do you kind of get them to consider their own time and their own labor in like a fair way?
Gotcha. Yep, I see it all the time. The way I overcome that is going back to your cost model, understanding that you put an hour's worth of labor into this and give yourself a minimum wage at least. I actually tend to go more 2025, calculating that out as though I'm hiring an employee for that. Um, the other thing I see when I do that though is if you're hiring someone else, a lot of people say, "Well, I'm hiring them for $15 an hour." Well, there's taxes included in there too. So you're never just hiring for 15, you're actually hiring for 17, 18 with all the insurance and taxes and stuff you need to put on. So give that $3, $4 buffer in there. Incorporate that into your product cost. That way you always know that you're at least covering your costs there. You can not pay yourself for things like, oh, I went to the farmers market my 5 hours there. That can be covered by your margin, but you can still incorporate that too into your costs a little bit or your overhead fixed costs. Saying that my farmers market it cost me $500 to be there for 4 hours. I pay myself the $20 an hour, so $580, and put that right back into your product itself, or do extrapolate that over the length of a full year. If you're going to go to 10 sessions, $5,800 is your total year cost, and put that as the fixed asset. And then that just always stays the same. Even if you don't go to the farmer's market that week, or if you go to a different opportunity somewhere else, you always have that base cost there. So it's always the maximum costs with the minimum revenue. So you're never over or undervaluing in either direction. And I wanted to follow up, Graham, on planning and zoning. I am also part of the planning and zoning board for Polk City, Iowa. I strongly recommend everyone going to those planning and zoning meetings because there's opportunities for partnerships there. I never see enough people attend. Mostly for us, it's always one person. He's just a community member. But there's lots of people asking for permits to do things, or they're looking to build new businesses before the public even knows about them. And that's great to just listen to and hear, oh, it looks like someone bought this land and they want to convert it to this. Approach them and say, hey, I'm willing to be on this land and rent this from you. It helps both parties tremendously.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that addition about planning and zoning. It's a huge issue, or it's very relevant at least for urban ag, just be aware because it's a lot more challenging, I guess I would say, just to have an urban farm successfully operate on such a small parcel, which they usually are in urban areas. Um, that being said, there are certain advantages or ways you can try to seek out advantages as an urban ag producer. Unfortunately, the program that was very successful of local food purchasing assistance helped a lot of people get started with urban ag, and kind of guaranteed a market for their products. But seeing that as Iowa is no longer going to be offering the local food purchasing assistance program to urban ag producers or producers at all for that matter, um, Alex, can you think of any other, whether it's like community connections, like with nonprofits or food banks or food hubs, or other organizations, ways to kind of get a large amount of connections and like a potential market, when people are, especially when they're starting out, where should they, prioritize their attention in terms of organizations?
Gotcha. A big one is these Facebook groups. There is a group, Iowa Cottage Foods group. They are always looking for questions. They always have questions about stuff. So introducing yourself there or introducing yourself on the Des Moines business sites or your local community sites, going to your extension and outreach offices and saying, "Hey, I'm here, I'm available." Put a flyer up somewhere, going to the bank, putting up a flyer or business card there. There's always a joke going around. You go to a Casey's around here and you see the wall of business cards. People look at those. People see those, especially if they're eye-popping and eye-catching. Um, Go to your local news areas and your local news outlets. You know, radio and newspaper are still pretty big. Your magazines. So a lot of this goes back to partnerships. Sometimes our stories aren't big enough to catch that real eye-popping appeal. But if you find someone else that has that same level as you and is doing something, it's a newsworthy event. The two people that are local are partnering together to bring something so great to Iowa and its community. There's a lot of events going on as well. So if you go on your Facebook or your social media and you just look at the events tab, or if you go to Extension Outreach and you see our local events, those are great networking opportunities. People are coming to these events to learn something similar to what you're doing. So you have already something to talk about. This is a great example of one right here that if we look through this list of people involved and participants, or we look at our next webinar series and we say, oh, okay, I've seen this person show up twice. I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to connect with them. Boom, that's one more person. And then ask them as well, hey, where do you market to? How do you get the word out about your products? What areas can I go to or focus on? Is all really helpful.
Thank you, Alex. Well, seeing that I don't have any additional questions from the group today, um, can you remind us where people can go with Iowa State? Who can we reach out to for business planning advice?
Definitely. So there's the Small Business Development Center at Iowa State University. Um, and there's always me. Feel free to reach out to me. My email is alexv as in Victor at iastate.edu. I help with everyone with their food businesses. And then you can also Google farm, food, and enterprise development. And we'd be more than willing to help in any way possible, everywhere from small farms to if you're going to scale up to larger food size production. You can also reach out to Graham. They have a great program over there and more webinar series about this topic.
Thank you. I'll just close out by saying or recommending people to check out the attachments I've shared in the chat. Those are the business planning template and the FFED business planning process flyer. Please give those a look and then review them if you're looking to start an urban ag business or just looking to incorporate a little more planning and thought into your planning process. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Please keep an eye on the urban ag website, ISU Extension and Outreach. Search up ISU Urban Ag, and we have several more webinars planned for this program, and we're excited to hear your feedback. If you want to give some feedback, reach out to me at grsfeld@iastate.edu. Thank you.
Thank you.